My name is Israel. I'm an artist, an animator, an illustrator, and a content creator, and this is the journey thus far for me. Where do I start from? It's been a wild ride. Many of the things that happened to me were things that I wanted but did not really expect. And getting to do these things have been really interesting. I've really enjoyed being an animator so far. I've enjoyed content creating. It has been a very interesting journey. It has inspired a lot of hard work from my side and a lot of dedication that I didn't necessarily put into the work earlier before much was expected of me. So it's been a very interesting ride. I've had to step up. I feel like I've been drawing my whole life. I started drawing when I was in primary school. I remember seeing some people draw some very beautiful art pieces, and I saw that. I was inspired to pick up a pen and draw. And it inspired something in me. I just knew that this was a journey I was going to be on for a while. So I started, I doubled down and started drawing every time, even when I wasn't supposed to. And it became my life, drawing comics, and I never stopped. That's just really how it went. I never stopped. And as far back as I can remember, the dream was to make my own comic book. I read some comics then. I read some Batman comics, Superman, Super Strikers when I was a little older in my teenage years, and witches, arches, they all inspired me to do, they inspired me. They showed me that these things were possible. And I started to do my research. I started to draw comics and share for my classmates, give it to my classmates to read. I started writing my own stories. And later on, as I grew older, drawing wasn't enough anymore. I wanted to make this. I wanted to give them life. I wanted to make them come alive, make them move, make them do the things I was seeing on TV, the things that got me into art in the first place. So I remember in 2019, I tweeted, I want to be an animator. And, after I said it out loud, I started to make the necessary moves. I had done some amateur animating when I was younger in secondary school, like just drawing different frames on books. So I had an idea what it took to bring these animations to life. So when I decided it was something I wanted to really do, I made my research, I bought the necessary equipment that I needed, and I started animating straight up from there. Okay, one of the challenges I faced was that there weren't many animators out there, so it was difficult to know what to do, what not to do, and how to do it. I had to watch animators that were outside the country, look at their work. And the funny thing is, many of the things they do outside the country may not work where you are. They didn't work in my own country. So I didn't have enough people to look up to in Nigeria as animators. I mean, there was one person, Jude OC. It was one animator that made me believe, making it as an animator in this country was possible. And I learned from what he was doing. So one of the challenges was that I didn't have too many Nigerian animators to look up to. Another challenge is it didn't pay anything. I wanted to say much, but it didn't pay anything at first. At first, it was just a side thing I was doing. In fact, I was investing my money in it because I was buying equipment. People were paying for softwares and all of that. So I was putting my money into it, and I wasn't doing it to make money. So that made that period very bearable, because I did it because I really loved it. And I had a 9-to-5 I was doing, which it was my main job, but to me then it was my side gig, because what I really wanted to do was animate. So financially, if you don't really love animating, and you expect to just go into animation and make a quick buck, doesn't necessarily work that way. So that was one challenge as well. The next challenge came with content creating, coming up with the actual content you want to create, because it's not enough to know how to animate. You also have to have something to animate. So writing stories and, trying to bring them to life through animating, it was more stressful than I thought it was going to be. Animating is not child's play. Animation is not child's play at all. And you have all these brilliant ideas in your head, and they're easy to write down. When it's time to animate, you see the real chore of it. And that was one thing I had to learn to just do. Like, you have to go through it. There's no magic that you do to bypass. You have to get down, pick up your pen, and really animate that thing you have in your head and bring it to life. So one major challenge is the laziness of it and procrastinating. You would have to overcome those if you're going to make it as an animator, because a 1 minute scene can take you a day, as many as 2 to 3 days to finish just a 1 minute scene. Not to talk of making an entire series. Getting your voice actors too is one very interesting challenge, but if you're as lucky as I am and you have friends that see your vision, then you'll thrive there. So yeah, I think those are the challenges I can remember so far. There's going to be some bias here. My favorite project I've worked on as an animator is the Orisha series, the Orisha animated series. It was one of the first undertakings I took, one of the first projects I took before I decided to start content creating. I was really interested. I was really focused on it. The writing was very interesting, and if I tell people that to date I never put pen to paper writing that series, they are surprised. But I did all the writing in my head, and I had friends that really loved the idea and were very interested in, let me voice this cartoon. And working with them, getting the voices and putting it, inserting it, doing the action, the sound effects. I did not love doing sound effects. Sound effects was such a stressful part. But putting the sound effects, everything, each time I completed an episode, it was such a rewarding experience, so fulfilling. So that's like number one in my top 3 projects. Number 1 would be Orisha, the TV series. And I still plan to do more with it. I still plan to pitch it for awards or get a budget to actually make a series that is worthy of, Netflix and Amazon Prime and whatnot. But yeah, that's my best project. My favorite. You know how the things we love the most are the things that stress us the most? It's still Orisha. Orisha was so stressful because it's different from every other animation I do. If you watch my content creation animation and then you watch Orisha, you will notice a big difference in the style, in the quality, and in the details. And I remember animating a fight scene that lasted about 30 seconds. It took me the entire day to animate it. That's why the aftermath is always fulfilling and rewarding. When you finish it, when you've gone through all that pain and you see Orisha stressed me. I didn't sleep. Nobody was paying me. In fact, almost nobody was seeing it then, because it didn't really get views until my other content blew up. And then I started, trying to promote it all over again. So then I was just doing it because I loved the idea. I loved it and I really believed in it. So it was really stressful. It was a stressful, sleepless nights. Yeah. So when I started out, I would just animate random things. I would animate random scenes, random things that I think are cool or interesting, and then I would put songs in the background and I would upload it. And it's one thing I always tell people: when you want to get into a space, work for yourself in that space and put your work out there. So I animated for myself, and every time I animated, I uploaded. I tried to do at least 2 or 3 a week, and people started coming to my DMs. People started commenting in my comment sections, people started reaching out that, oh, can you do a visualizer for my song? And when I started animating, of course I couldn't do, I was not ready to do the visualizer, but I was like, yes, I can do the visualizer. Just give me the gig. So I took the gig and I stepped up to the task. I'll look at what they are requesting for, the graphics and everything, and then I would recreate it. And to make sure they were always satisfied. When I character design, I share it with them, and they approve. And then when I animate a scene and I know that, oh, this is the graphics they require, and they approve, I make sure, I keep going. And that was one of the things that helped me grow as an animator. I was not afraid to take tasks that were daring and tasks that I wasn't necessarily ready for. I learned on the job. So yeah, that was how I got some gigs. And then many of the gigs after the first couple of people were referrals. So the first people I did the jobs for, they were very pleased with the work. And I know one of the reasons they referred was because it was very affordable too, because I didn't charge a lot back then. So I was more focused on getting a clientele, as many customers as possible first, before I started looking at the financial gain from it. So that was the early stages. That was very interesting. Okay, so you want to be an animator. The tools you need are up to you, but there are options. So it comes down to what software you want to use, and then what gadgets you want to use. So there are some softwares that you can use across all the available gadgets, and there are some softwares that you can only use on some specific gadgets. When I started out with Photoshop, which can be used on a computer, and a graphics tablet, with the use of a graphics tablet. But it wasn't quite doing it for me. I needed my art to be on a display tablet where I draw and I see what I'm drawing. Now, the difference is with a graphics tablet, you need good hand-to-eye coordination, because when you draw on the tablet, it has no screen. You have to look at the computer to make sure that it aligns. But with the iPad, it's like drawing on a paper. It's like traditional art. So that was what worked for me, and I decided that was what I was going to go with. So from when I started till date, I use an iPad and the Procreate software to animate. Everything I animated, including my animated series, it was all done on Procreate. If you want to do the kind of animation I do, yes, you do have to know how to draw, because animation requires you to learn every possible anatomical position there is, even if not perfectly well, then to an extent. So you need to know how to draw very well enough to be able to create the kind of animation I do. But again, learning and drawing is not some talent that people are born with. So it's a skill that you can work on and master. I wasn't born with a talent of drawing. I was interested in drawing and I drew every day till the age that I am now. So if you start drawing today, in less than a year, you'll find that you are good enough to draw animations. And I promise it really doesn't take too long, depending on how focused and determined and how much you practice, just like any other job. The best social media platform to promote, honestly, any kind of content is TikTok, because TikTok algorithm is favorable to audience. It's like when you go for raves or parties and then they are trying to decide who is the winner, and then they go by who has the loudest cheer from the crowd. So TikTok, you don't have to have too many followers to get a video that hits millions of views. So TikTok was very instrumental in my stepping into the influencer / content creator phase. So with TikTok, which I believe is the best platform, you can create on your page that has maybe 100 or 200 followers and trust the platform to do the best it can for you. No other platform is offering that right now. Many of them are trying to create the algorithm to do such, but I don't think I've seen many do as well as TikTok has. And this is one thing I noticed that made me decide I have to take advantage of this opportunity. Like, I looked at TikTok, I saw what it was doing for people, and I was like, I need to take advantage of this. And I remember that period I decided I was going to put out one content per day. It was burning. And after I did that for like a week or 2 weeks, I had my first viral video, and you know the rest. Strong, big fat no. No, that's a big no. That's a very, very big no. In fact, I animate so much now so that I don't have to later in future, because I'm a creator, yeah, and I have so many stories to tell. And if I'm the one animating it, I can only tell a few. I can only tell so many. You know, if you had like an army of animators, it would be easy for you to relay your stories to them direct. And I also want to do music for movies, for, you know, documentaries and all of that thing. I'm very interested in exploring the musical aspect of my gifts, which is why I do so many musicals in my content, animated content already. And I've seen people react to these musicals, and I know that, you know, this is something I can do. I'm a songwriter as well. So I plan to do big musicals and big, you know, shows, just using the talent of that. And animating 24/7 will not give you that freedom. So I don't plan to animate longer than maybe 40. If it wasn't animating, I would be some kind of a performer, either an artist or an actor, or both. And I remember when I was younger, you know, I used to go out, whatever audition, whatever drama there was, I used to be very, very interested in exploring it, you know, playing new characters and all of that. I went for a couple of auditions when I was younger, before I hit in my early 20s. I think I went for a couple of auditions to see, you know, what opportunities were there. I got a role once, but I was too far from the location. And I know that if I didn't go the animation route, I would have been some sort of a performer, either singing or I even did card tricks at some point. I was a magician, yeah. So I would have been a kind of performer. I know that. That's a tough thing. For navigating, I would say mouse. Yeah.
So you're team mouse?
I'm team mouse. I know the funny thing, I barely use the mouse.
So you're not team mouse?
No, see, that's the thing. The time I had a mouse, oh my god, I enjoyed it. But I've just been too lazy to go and get one, yeah, or to, you know, just to get one basically. But this thing, trackpad, especially depending on how your setup is, using trackpad kind of hurts in your hand. But if you rest it on something, it's really cool. So yeah, I don't have a mouse. I'm a bad ambassador for Team Mouse, but I'm definitely Team Mouse. I don't think there's a trick to that.
You keep dishing out the best content.
I don't think there's a trick to staying. Okay, you know what? I think maybe just stay consistent. Just always try to create something. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it will not do as well as you want. Sometimes it will do as well as you want. But another thing I found out is that you are actually in no position to judge what you create, because you are creating it for people. Let them tell you, oh, this is what this is. So just create your thing, put it out. They react how they react. You learn from their reactions, and you keep reacting and keep creating. So just stay consistent. Stay consistent, and you will stay creative. Okay, so if you are just starting out in the animation space, I have only one advice to give to you. And that advice is start creating now and put it out. Don't create and hide. Don't create and keep. Create and put it out. Because one question I keep asking myself is, some of the videos that I was so afraid to upload that I eventually uploaded and went viral, what if I didn't? What if I kept them hidden? What if I decided this wasn't good enough or whatnot? Because more often than not, the content I think is great and brilliant it has a very mid performance on social media, and then the ones that I rushed and I thought this may not be good enough, let me just put that as a filler, those ended up being very groundbreaking for my career and as a content creator. So simple, I guess it's two advices: start creating now and put it out immediately with the mistakes that are in it. Let people talk about it. It drives traction.